full policy board of the Rio Grande Valley MPO. Roll call.
Good afternoon, everyone. For the record, this meeting agenda was posted to our website and the Secretary of State's website Friday, April the 21st at 11:59 a.m. Roll call. Cameron County,
I'm sorry, here. Sort of.
Hidalgo County, City of Brownsville, City of McAllen, City of Edinburgh, City of Mission, City of Harlingen, City of FAR, Starr County, City of San Benito, Cameron County,
RMA.
RMA, yes, I'm sorry. Hidalgo County RMA,
See, now I am here.
yes. Hidalgo County RMA, Valley Metro, TxDOT, quorum.
All right, thank you. Item 3, do we have any public comments?
No, sir.
All right. Item 4, the consent agenda approval for the April 5th, 2023 meeting. Any changes?
Yes, sir. We have a correction, if you will. I'm trying to identify again, but the sentence reads that basically I was not caring about the amount of funding being carried over when it should have said I was not carrying over so much funding on it.
Is there a difference?
Yes, there's a difference.
Is there a difference?
There's a huge difference, sir. It's
All right.
Yes, sir. So we will, staff is aware of that, and we'll make that correction, but that's the only one we have from staff.
All right. Anyone else? If not, is there a motion to approve with the correction?
So move.
Motion by the mayor, second by Starr County. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Item 2, discussion and action on FY 2023 to 2026 STIP and 2045 MTP amendments, May 2023 quarterly revision cycle. Rudy?
Thank you, Chairman, and good afternoon to all of our board members. So for the May 2023 revision cycle, we have a summary sheet included within y'all's packet. Also, within the entire packet that was sent out to our members, we have the final drafts of our TIP, which is our short-range planning tables, our long-range MTP plan, as well as our transit TIP, which is a short-range plan for our transit providers. Anything that was constituted as a revision is labeled as so. Otherwise, anything else would be administrative modifications. During the TAC meeting, this item was approved, however, contingent on anything we may have received since then. The only items that were in addition to what was taken to our advisory committee were some projects for McAllen Metro that have been incorporated, and the majority of those are revisions. However, there were a few that were administrative. Other than that, all items that were taken to the committee and approved were also before you today. Taking a look at the revision schedule provided to us by TxDOT, the public involvement period for our organization ran from March 20th to April 20th, so we have concluded public involvement. All the documents and supporting documentation were also presented during that time. We had 4 in-person locations, and they were all very successful and well attended. So we have a deadline to upload our resolution and supporting documentation to the STIP portal by April the 28th, so we had this meeting scheduled just in time. And so if there's any questions regarding the revisions or administrative modifications involved in these 2 amendments to our short-range and long-range planning tables, I'd be happy to address those at this time.
Any questions? Very good. With that in mind, is there a motion, your recommendations to approve?
Yes, sir.
All right, is there a motion to approve? Motion to approve, Starr County. Second, City Mission, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Item 3, continued discussion on draft 2024 UTP, Category 7 funding allocation and programming of projects. Rudy.
Thank you, Chairman. And again, members, this is an item that's come before this policy board and also our technical advisory committee a few times. Since the previous presentation on this particular material, there has not been a change to the draft UTP allocation for 2024. We are currently programmed at the amount that's listed, which is $354.41 million. The projects that are pending functional classification are still accurate as presented, and we have a total approved amount of $406.13 million. So our balance is still a negative 76.66 for the 10-year horizon from 2024 to 2023. in 2033, excuse me. If anything changes between now and the adoption of the UTP, we'll of course bring that to our advisory committee and the board. However, at this time, this is where we have our programming set, and the unobligated amount of funds as of April 31st, so the previous previous material that we presented to this board was from the month before. We get these federal transaction reports sent to us monthly. So that's where that unobligated amount comes from. And that's the last item on this particular page. We're still at just over 74 million, and that's a federal amount, so 80% match.
So is that as of March 31st or at the end of April?
At the end of March 31st.
Okay.
So, yes. We
All
always
right.
receive them, within a few weeks of the previous one. If there's any question on this breakdown, I can address that at this time. Otherwise, I'd like to move to a few other slides that are involved in the
Any questions on this
package.
slide?
For the record, I would like to just point out for everyone's knowledge, Chairman, that the unobligated, when we say that, it doesn't mean that it is free money. That's money
Right.
that is identified with projects, just has not gone to letting yet. So sometimes unobligated, we can look at that and think of it as being free money out there still to apportion to projects, but it's not. It is encumbered with projects, it just has not been gone
The
to
entire
letting.
amount is encumbered, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It is.
That's a good point, Andrew. Thank you. And that figure might change between now and the end of the fiscal year. So we'll, of course, bring those updates to the board as we get them. The next slide, this is also a table that was previously presented to the board. And this just helps us identify the difference between what's been projected for the 2024 UTP versus what was listed and allocated to the MPO in the 2023 UTP. We have deltas identified, percentage differences, and we also have the total amount for the 10-year difference between the two. So it's not very much of an increase when you look at the 10-year horizon. However, we did want to provide this material regardless so that we could see the difference between the two allocations. And this, of course, has to be taken in consideration what we already have programmed for the years of 2023 all the way to 2032 currently, and 2033 is now pending projects on our long-range plan. So just encompassing everything where we're at today. This is a listing of everything that is funded with Category 7 within these UTP years, with a few notes off to the side for pending functional classification. These projects on this list are showing the amount that was approved by this policy board. However, we cannot show that information on our planning documents until they achieve that functional classification. So it is still pending. However, they have been approved, so we wanted to incorporate all those amounts to know exactly where we're at.
So,
This- I'm sorry.
real quick,
Yes,
just to
Chairman.
make clear, where it has pending FC or it does not have pending FC, then those have already been, met the functional classification?
Yes, that is correct.
All the other
Yes.
ones?
We're
Okay.
able to show those federal funds on our planning documents, yes. This list is just to help us identify what is currently programmed within the TIP fiscal years and how projects have moved over the past couple of years. And just to help us identify what's pending out there, what's unobligated, and what we're hopefully will see obligated within the next year, hopefully by the end of the fiscal year, but if not, where we need to move projects from where they're currently at. For instance, in fiscal year 2023, any project that doesn't get obligated or that needs to go to letting, we need to make sure and move that project forward. And if there's other projects that we need to adjust accordingly, we do so as well. So just a snapshot of what we can make available to both the advisory committee and the board. We can also include, if needed and requested, a full timeline of a project when it was first approved on the STIP, for instance, and where we're at today with that project, if that's necessary, or any other supporting information that will help both the advisory committee and this board make future decisions on prioritizing of projects and any future funding opportunities as well.
Backslide on that,
Yes.
acronym CRSSA,
So those are the COVID relief funds that were allocated to the MPO during that time. Those are all assigned to projects. It's 100% federal funds. However, when we program the projects, it is considered Category 7. It's integrated into it, but we just have to identify it as those type of funds individually. But yes, it is under Category 7.
So just a real quick comment on going back to the functional classification. Andrew, I would recommend sending an email to Casey Wells and see what the status of that is. Make sure you CC the FAR district
On the pending
on the
projects?
pending ones. Because my understanding, this is taking 6 months to a year, sometimes even more. So please initiate that discussion with Casey Wells, CC me, and I will utilize that to help leverage and try to push them forward.
There's somebody, who is it you speak to regularly? Oh, yeah, Raymond, so we can go above that and talk to Casey then, so. Because one of them is, an appeal, FM 509, because they came back on our original, as you know, submittal and said no, which it's an overweight corridor, so sort of seems to make sense that FM 509 would be, so, but we'll do that, I'll reach out to Casey and,
Yeah, and like I said, I'm just trying to help along the process, to show both MPO and the district are helping push along. We do get these type of questions from our local elected officials, so
Yeah,
want to
'cause on the
demonstrate that we're doing
closer-
our part.
on the closer ones, and you're right, we want to make sure because we have them funded, technically, they all say local, but we have a gentleman, oh, sorry. Okay. We have them funded on the books, they say local, but the board has approved Category 7, so we have the Category 7 in our books just to the side, so once functional classification comes in, we just swap one out for the other, but you're right, we would hate for something like Russell Road to get closer to letting, and we still show it with local, because I'm sure the commissioner would show up at my office asking if I have my checkbook ready, so. But yeah, so I'll talk to Casey, I'm liable to see him in the morning, actually, so definitely we'll have that conversation and get an email out and CC you. Appreciate you and Rex.
Any other questions? All right, Rudy.
So also included in the packet and what we're reviewing right now on the screen, we just wanted to show an example of the reports that we receive monthly. So this is a federal transaction report shared to us by our Finance and TPMP, or Planning and Programming Division up in Austin. And we get these reports monthly. So as you can see, those numbers are accurate through the end of March, as of March 31st. And that's where we identified to the far right. And if we could zoom in just a bit there, Miguel, to the far right side, that last column, that's where the 74.03 million of unobligated funds comes from. So when we receive those monthly reports of transactions and unobligated funds from the federal government and from our partners in Austin, that's how we are able to verify and also share the information. On this next page, we actually have a listing of federal transactions for the fiscal year. So that helps us identify which projects actually had a federal transaction. And also what we're going through right now, staff received notice that we needed to review our annual project listing for fiscal year 2022. And so we're reviewing those projects by use of these federal transaction reports, so previous reports that we received, for the accuracy, and if there's any discrepancies, anything that comes to mind that we may need to bring to the attention of both the state and the federal government, we let them know. And otherwise, everything goes as planned and checks and balances, and we move on. But that's part of our process. So we utilize these federal transaction reports for multiple tasks. But I just thought I'd include that in there to inform you all what we're looking at when we mention those federal reports. It had been mentioned in a previous meeting here, as well as our advisory committee, just to take a brief look at Category 2 projects and where we stand with those in development and how those projects have moved, and basically just the overall status. And so this is nothing that came from the district or from Austin or anyone else other than MPO staff, and it comes directly off of the MTP that we approved here within this board. So just a short breakdown of tip years, which are fiscal year 23 to 26, are Category 2 projects as they've been listed and approved. The final tally, what was allocated, and I came to find that there's just over a $5 million difference from what's made available to what's programmed, and not much movement with these projects. They're all pretty much close to where they're programmed right now and where they've been moved from since 2019. Just to show an example, so that was a request that was made by one of our board members and something that has come up in previous discussions. And also, one of our staff members included this nice diagram to help read tip entries with a full breakdown of how the funding is listed. So for somebody who may be not always looking at our short-range tables, then maybe they could better identify the actual individual tip entries on the short-range plan. And so we created this diagram as just something to reference in case somebody would want to. And we'll probably incorporate this in some sort of project development MPO 101 type workshop here in the near future.
Judge, may I ask a question on this?
Absolutely.
Could you go back one slide, please?
Yes.
Obviously, these projects are Category 2, which means that they're on-system projects. Many of the projects listed here, we're running into some challenges. We're working very closely with the local governments when it comes to purchasing of right-of-way and utility adjustments. And so that is by far our biggest challenge to date when it comes to these projects. As an example, we have one utility company that is having to adjust a lot of water lines, and we're working with them to figure out the funding. I've mentioned in the past, state infrastructure bank loans are available. And so please, I encourage local governments, projects that are on roadway type projects, most of them would qualify for SIB loans, low interest loans. This is another mechanism available through TxDOT to help us deliver these projects. And so we will continue to work with our right-of-way division, local governments to help adjust, buy the right-of-way and then adjust the utilities accordingly. So I just wanted to give an update on that.
Unfortunately, this slide is not in our, at least it's not in my, is it on? And I'd ask, go ahead and make sure that all the board members get a copy of that, because those local governments, if you haven't already reached out to them to make sure that they're aware or that this would be helpful to be applying for the SIB loan and to moving their portion forward, that's potentially delaying either the right-of-way or the movement of utilities.
Yes, sir, we could have that sent out after the meeting today. It was something that was actually added just yesterday or the day before, last minute, so we can send that out to all of our board members and make sure you have that in your possession to review.
Thank you, we appreciate that.
Of course, yes. On another note, before wrapping up this item, we did have an agreement upon two of our local governments represented here on our policy board, the City of FAR and Hidalgo County Precinct 1. They agreed to a swap of Category 7 funds and COVID relief funds, or CRSAA funds. The project of interest was Mile 1 East, which was programmed currently in fiscal year 2025. This project is funded with currently, as I mentioned, the COVID relief funds and traditional Category 7 or STP Metropolitan Mobility Funds. So we asked the two local governments to come into an agreement it would be okay to swap those funds to eliminate the possibility of the COVID relief funds expiring. They have a lifespan. So at the end of fiscal year 2024, unfortunately, those funds would expire if they didn't get utilized. So we met with the governments and they agreed to swapping Category 7, the traditional SCP-MM funds, for the COVID relief funds to avoid that. And we have an agreement and we have letters from both entities.
All right, Rudy, could you repeat again which two projects were getting swapped out?
Yes, so the Mile 1 East project is the one that we were concerned about that had the COVID relief funds assigned to it. The next project is a project within our STIP year as well. It's the I-Road project, CSJ 092102-499 from Dicker Road to Military Highway. The project sponsor is the City of FAR. That project will be accelerated into fiscal year 2024. We were notified that it'll be ready to go to letting by then, which then qualifies it for utilization of those COVID relief funds. And therefore, the traditional Cat 7 in the same identical amount would be transferred to Mile 1 East, currently in 2025, when they can go ahead and proceed accordingly as programmed. So there would be no loss or no gain to either project. However, we do avoid the lapsing of those COVID relief funds in the process.
Well, I want to thank and congratulate Hidalgo County Precinct 1 and the City of Edinburgh for working together for doing that. City of FAR, I'm sorry, for doing that. I'm glad you asked, Ramon, what was it? What CRRSAA stood for, because I was afraid to ask, so I appreciate you asking. But I'm glad we did not lose those COVID-related funds. So I congratulate and applaud the board members for doing that and the municipalities.
Just so you know, Chairman, it was $327,000, and we've already worked with their staff to initiate the AFA amendments. So that doesn't hold up anything. We're looking at like a 6-month, we hope, timeline on the AFA amendment, and that would be in time for the project to let in 24 as expected. I-Road, that is.
It is an administrative amendment. I did some research on the STIP portal and figured that we can go ahead and do that as soon as possible. So as soon as today, when we publish the documents that have already been approved, which was the last item, we can go ahead and incorporate that administrative modification as well, so we won't fall behind.
Okay. You have anything else on this item, Rudy?
That's all, sir.
The only suggestion I would make, and maybe it's just me, but there's a lot of white space above and below. maybe we could just make these just a little larger, because I'm really,
Absolutely.
I can hardly make them out.
They don't always transfer as you
I-
see them when you're working on them, but I know
I
what you
get
mean,
it.
yes.
I get it, but being able to see them is probably better than it being able to transfer. I can't make it out. I mean,
Possibly rotating them as well.
Yeah,
Gives you a little bit more
yeah.
area to work with.
I don't want to do the whole meeting like this, but anyway. Yeah, blow it up, yeah. I keep doing that to the paper, but it's not, it ain't working. All right, and does anybody have any other questions, Mayor?
Yeah, just real quick, is there any way we can make these projects on category 2 and 7 available online? Like, so people can have access to? Is that a possibility? I know TxDOT, you have those in some of your major projects.
The CAT 7 projects,
Or
I
even-
apologize.
Yeah, or even these CAT 2 projects.
They're all online.
But are they like in a point where people know the timeline, the, how much is it spent and? how
On the,
much-
on this is a, cutout, if you will, from the overall larger sheet. The timeline is on there.
Okay.
As far as the expected letting date.
So somebody can go in and click like on particular roadway and know where that project is going
You can
to?
even do that on our UMap, Mayor. You can go
Okay.
on our UMap and you can
So
click
we can
on
get
it.
the link, we
by
can put it
year.
on our site, because we have some of our projects on the dashboard, and we'd like to include these and just put it as a link, so I think that'd be helpful.
Yes, sir, because on that map, we have it set up by, year 1, 2, 3, and 4
Yeah.
of the tip years, and then you can click on the project, and it'll
Okay.
give you your limits to and from, the
Oh, that's
cost
perfect.
breakdown,
Okay.
who the project sponsor is, and am I missing anything else on what's on there? That's the information that's provided for each one of those projects on our map, and we can send the link to your staff, so. it
Yeah,
can
that'd be
shared.
great, I'd appreciate it.
You want
Yeah.
to send it to Tom?
Yeah, that'd be fine, yeah, if you could send it.
Yes, sir.
And then also, going back, somebody made a comment about the unobligated funds, could we just call it remaining balance? Because a lot of us think that those are monies available, and, anyway.
I think
don't
that's
know
why
what's the
Andrew wanted to
term.
make sure that it's not, yeah.
I
That's all.
agree, and we can word it like that from now on.
It's safe to say there are no non-obligated funds in the MPO.
That is correct.
Okay. Before anybody gets too excited.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
All right, anybody else have any questions for Rudy? If not, can I have a motion to acknowledge this discussion? Motion, Ramon, and second by the state. All in favor? All opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 4, discussion on and possible action on the updated CAT 7 scoring and evaluation form.
Good afternoon. I'm here to present the new scoring form. It has been updated. We received submittals from our local governments. We received about a total of 5 with suggestions of how to update the form. This is the before, where most of the points were distributed more to project priority. And the main suggestion was that we should move this now to project readiness, to put more weight towards that. So in the new form, now 60% of the 100% score is project readiness and 40% of it is project priority. Also, some of the weights in the score have been changed to reflect how much work it takes for a local government to do. So now, for example, right-of-way acquisition and utility relocation is a much heavier project to do, so because of that, there is more weight to that. So now it's a total of 11 points on those instead of being before 8 points. Another big change that was done was now there is an attachment to it. This is just basically the guidelines of how it has been identified what 30%, 60%, 90%, and 100% means. So now everybody has the same way to identify each percentage bracket, and it's not being thought of a different way, like just assuming that this is how they represent what 30% means, but there's actually now a guideline to what it is now. And also now there is a timeline example that you can submit with your submittal so that we can see where in the project where in the project phase are you for the estimated time of completion. This scoring sheet was emailed out last week for our workshop, May 25th. The deadline for this new score is May 19th. And is there any questions on the CAT 7 score?
You say the deadline?
To submit this new form is May 19th.
It's for the
For-
project readiness
Workshop.
subcommittee that we have, sir, for the work group. But we're coming back to the policy board to approve the final,
The final form?
Form, yes, sir. This is still work in progress. It's just we have to use something now to give us an update in preparation for the workshop.
Okay,
But
so-
we'll continue to do both on a parallel path.
So if we're, okay, so if you're gonna come back with some additional changes or modifications to the actual form,
Yes, sir.
but you want the projects completed by May the 19th, they're gonna use
The submittal.
the submittal.
Yes, sir.
But you're asking us to use this form as it currently exists? And then they're gonna do it again after the 19th, or what?
In another quarter. We have the quarterly updates on
Okay.
the subcommittee. We're not, this subcommittee is our real kickoff. It's 2 hours. Last time we only had an hour to sort of get our feet wet, if you will, Chairman. And what we want from this one more than anything is the progression of the project. I'm not so much worried myself. The board may feel differently
Okay.
about the scoring of it. But to be able to come back and tell the board where these projects are in their development as we continue to hone this, because also, as you know, Chairman, and I know Pete does, and I can't remember whom else, Alliance Transportation Group is on board working on a performance measure contract, and I know they interviewed yourself, Pete, Mayor Hernandez, and I apologize, I don't remember who all else they interviewed. But the elected officials looking for some input as well as they come back to us with a final product for us to use in the future when we're going through and ranking our projects and using that. So these are all iterations just to get us to the finish line at the moment.
So, but just to be clear, right now, every entity and its projects needs to prepare and submit this form prior to the 19th, and it'll be on a continual quarterly basis, right?
Correct,
For
sir.
all, for all of our benefits.
Yes, sir.
But you're saying that by the time we submit the next quarter submittal, it may have a different, there may be a few little changes or
We'll have
modifications.
some tweaks, it will, yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
I'd like to make comment. I know that the county did submit some recommendations
Yes,
on
ma'am.
the form, and we just want to make sure that our recommendations are considered.
They're on
Stayed
there.
on there. Okay, wonderful.
They're actually on there, aren't they, for now?
Yes, most of them were applied to it. The only thing that we didn't use from the county was their weight that they submitted, but mostly everything else was added on here.
Okay, great.
Yes, the one that shows the,
Thank you.
the red total points next to it is the new form.
And then a follow-up to that, is this board going to decide this weighting? I mean, the actual weight, are we going to have that discussion?
Well, the board has the ultimate decision. We're asking the advisory committee for guidance on that.
Yes,
To
and
bring to the board for approval.
what was recommended was to put more weight towards project readiness. And that's where 60% of the total score falls on.
And when is our deadline for those comments?
For comments for these forms, as stated before, it is a continuing live document. Our next workshop is May 25th for our project readiness. That would be the perfect time to submit those, because I believe that's where everybody else will be submitting their comments when they get the form.
It gets a little confusing, and I apologize. This is our fourth iteration in a year and a half of this document, because we've gone through it, tax worked on it, policy boards approved it, and then as we work through it, some find out, well, this doesn't quite work the way we would want, or it could, and it's been tweaked. So this is the fourth, and I know there will be a fifth, because again, of Alliance helping us out under contract to help us sort of, epitomize what would be the best in that ranking process. So it's something, right now I'm using it more of a tool to be able to update to the policy board where we are in project development more than the scoring being such a weight. Because I think that's what the board takes into consideration most at the moment. We don't really have too many discussions about how a project scored in comparison to another. The discussions have been around what is your readiness? If you're in year 4 and you're ready to go, we move it to year 1 and we let it. So that's what we're looking for by the time we get to the 25th, and then incorporating any additional changes that there may be or any changes that someone feels aren't in here. Now, I can't say all the changes from any entity will be incorporated, because it sort of comes down to the vote of the advisory committee, because we did receive good feedback from the county, from the RMA, from the
TxDOT.
Cameron County RMA, from
TxDOT as well.
TxDOT as well. So, and some of those aren't exactly in parallel with each other. I mean, somebody may say weight more this factor X, and another entity would be like, well, weigh that less, but weigh this one more. So we're trying to work that out with the advisory, and that's why it's not an action item today. It's just here for informational purposes.
So Andrew, just to be clear, are they supposed to, each entity supposed to submit the scoring on the old form or the proposed form?
I don't particularly care which.
Well, I think we need to be very
We
clear
need-
on
yeah,
that,
I'm
because
not
otherwise
using-
we're going to be mixing and matching.
I would prefer the one that's redlined, but if for some reason there's a hesitation, I talked to some about that, that's
I
perfect.
would agree with the red line, using the red line, because if that's the one that shows project readiness and it takes in the most recent comments, then we should be going towards readiness. And especially if we're being dinged by TechStouter, for not being ready. And so my recommendation is, if y'all have already gone to the TAC, gone to the board, taken their comments, and staff has given good recommendations on that they took all this, then maybe you should just move forward.
Okay, well then, it goes back to Pete's question then. You're gonna have some filling it out under the old form or some filling it under the new red line form, which, I mean,
We'll provide guidance to the red line form.
Yeah, to me, that makes perfect sense.
it-
Go with the
yeah.
latest
Believe that's
iteration.
what already-
why, yeah,
Yes. That's already been
if
sent
you're asking all of us to submit, right, updated forms,
Yes, sir.
it makes sense to utilize the most up-to-date form. Now, if there's still some additional changes,
We'll tackle it on the next draft.
we'll get it on the next,
Well,
on the next
Luis just
reporting.
corrected me that that's the form that they've already apparently
That's,
sent out.
that's what I thought.
It's already gone out.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, and I would just urge, Chairman, that this board approve this as soon as possible, so that it's already final, to
That's-
be fair
that's-
to everybody, you know what I mean? So I
The-
agree.
Yeah, the agenda item had possible action, the underlying says info only, but if it's, the TAC board has,
Submitted comments, yes, and those comments have been applied to this form. But I do believe at the workshop, more comments will be submitted.
We have some that
why
are very
can't,
hesitant.
why can't we approve it? And if there's additional changes, then we'll change that up at the next one.
May I make a recommendation? I mean, it says possible action.
Yeah.
And so I agree with you, Judge, 100%. We can take action on this now. There's going to be an iteration provided by the consultants that may change things a little bit, but that way it's official. This is the latest form.
Yeah.
Approved by the policy.
That way,
board.
we're all on the same page.
Yes.
And again, if we have some additional changes, we have make some additional changes for the next reporting, form. All right, it has action. Is there a motion? I'm sorry, Fernando, are you done with your
If there's any more
presentation?
questions,
Any other questions? No more discussion? All right, if not, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion to approve, by State, second by Starr County, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
thank you.
Item 5, FY 2023-2024 Transportation Alternative Set Aside Call for Projects. Ms. Garcia.
Good afternoon, everybody. I do want to state, this is just another announcement. You've sent emails, we've had workshops and working groups, but I want to do my due diligence and make sure everyone is hyper aware that we have $9 million in transportation alternative set aside to program this fiscal year, and reiterate that this is the largest amount ever received by the region, because the last 4 fiscal years, we received a total of $6.8 million. So having $9 million for 2 fiscal years is significantly more. And of course, we've been talking about project readiness, and we've been talking about obligating funds, and TASA funds lapse after 3 to 4 years. It's the fiscal year, it's really 4 years with the fiscal year we're programming those funds. But you have in your packet, and in the packet online, is the schedule of activities. And so we're currently April 26th, today is the deadline to submit technical assistance. And I want to make it really clear, requesting technical assistance, that meeting, the technical assistance can be May 30th, May 29th, later. But we want to receive the request now so we can start having our calendar booked and kind of making sure that we have time to meet with everybody and answer questions. So if you submit a request for technical assistance, you can have a date for that meeting, and we'll schedule you for that. And so just to make sure what the technical assistance is for and the time for review, is we basically want to make sure your project is eligible. We want to kind of have early coordination to make sure those are eligible activities, that we're discussing the cost estimates, that the expectations are really clear as far as what agreements may be needed. And then, of course, wanting to verify that right-of-way is available already, because we do not want to have project challenges or delays when the funding lapses. And so this is the same schedule of activities in a linear timeline. And you can kind of see the block off, right? All that light blue is the time that we're sharing information and you're working on your project application. The darker blue in the middle is that review period where we'll be working with our TechStop partners to kind of do some clarification and going back and forth a little bit so that we can start sending those applications over to BPAC for evaluation and scoring. And I threw in these slides yesterday evening. These aren't in your packet, but there's two slides, this one and the next one. This is TxDOT's schedule of activities. And so if you're an organization that submitted a project to TxDOT, then you currently completed step 1 in TxDOT's 2-step process. So TxDOT's statewide call, they kind of just announced who's able to proceed for the detailed application step. And that's currently, those haven't been awarded and they won't be programmed until later this year. But that being said, and not wanting to conflict, if you have a project that went to the state, you're still eligible to submit other projects. Your local government, there's no, at least for us at the MPO, there's no limit on the number of applications you can send the MPO, and it can be from the same organization, as long as it's not the same project. And I did get this in email from our state partners at the Austin level, Bonnie and Noah, who are in charge of the statewide TASA call. But again, the same or substantially similar project cannot be considered by both the state and the MPO. But as long as that project is a different one, you can submit a project to the MPO.
What constitutes same and substantially similar projects?
So I'm just gonna use the West Rail Trail, for example, as a project that's been programmed. But let's say the city of Brownsville wanted to do the West Rail Trail. And I think we know where Cameron County developed the trail itself, and then Brownsville had the amenities project. And so I feel like that's the same project. It's the West Rail Trail. And if you applied at the state, but maybe you didn't get enough money or you're not submitting for everything, you cannot apply to the MPO during the same call for the same project. But of course, because I'm from Brownsville, the West Rail Trail going to the state and then another request for the Southmost Nature Trail is eligible. So you can get funded at the state level for one project, and you can get funded at the MPO for a completely different project from the same project sponsor. Does that make sense? So think about it in different roads, I suppose. It's getting the East Loop project funded through the state and then getting the SH 550 funded with the MPO.
See, in my mind, those are two completely different projects. So that's why when you said substantially similar, now if you were talking about, if you've got the West Rail Trail and you had phases 1, 2, and 3, okay, I get that. But if it's the Southmost Trail or some other unconnected trail or unconnected road project, but I guess I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
So I have a question. So
Sure.
like Jackson, there in our city road.
Yes.
Like we wouldn't extend it from there. That's already a project, but would that qualify or?
You can, yes, if.
You know what I mean? Because it's
If
a
you did
similar-
not apply to the state, which I don't think you applied
Right,
to the state,
no.
right? Then you're more than eligible here.
got it.
The only conflict is if you asked for money for the state, then we don't want you coming to ask for money from the MPO for the same project. That's kind of what it is. And I did want to clarify that because I've had a few different people ask about that. So are there any questions about the state call for projects versus the MPO's call for projects? And I'm sorry that wasn't in your packet. It's just because, we had a late
We had
meeting.
this conversation after 5 years.
After-
We just wanted to be certain that everyone knew that they had 2 opportunities to dip their toes in the pool, but it would have to be for different limits of projects or different projects. So if you had a more grandiose project, maybe the 9 million would take all of, or something you wanted to apply on a state level, and we'll give all we can in the way of documentation and support, and then you had a smaller project and you wanted to do it through the MPO, we want that to be successful as well, but we didn't want to think that you were limited because a government entity is just by project.
And I also want to say that if the city of Edinburgh, for example, wants to apply to the state for construction funds, you can still apply to the MPO for planning funds of a different project, safety improvements, ADA compliance, type of projects. So that's kind of it. We just want you to be really clear you can submit more than one project, but if you're submitting to the state, submit a different project to the MPO.
I guess maybe one other, to avoid any issues, is everybody make sure that they check with you and or staff to make sure that they're not wasting effort or, double billing or double dipping.
Of course. And I know we did have the deadline for technical assistance, but of course, we're always available to meet with you. That was just our way of having a busy May and wanting to make sure we're getting you on our calendar.
I would hate to have any entity not apply
Exactly.
because of concerns that maybe it is or it isn't, and so.
Exactly. And I know, I was telling Mr. Cannon this yesterday when we were talking late, is that it's because we're in the weeds, so we understand. And sometimes those dots are presented to you, but we don't see that connection. And I know if I go to your meeting, I'm not gonna be able to connect the dots, but you're in the weeds for that, and so you understand how those dots are connected. So I just wanted to add these 2 slides a little bit late, but to provide that clarification that we want to receive your applications and we want to see what, even if you're not potentially funded, we want to see what your vision is, what your goals are, what the demand is for transportation alternatives set aside.
Yeah. Communication is key, folks. If you have a question, please ask, and we'll get you squared away, whether it's the text out or the MPO. I just want to reiterate the importance, the sooner we obligate projects, the better, because these deadlines are going to be upon us quicker than quick. So let's focus on an obligation, the sooner the better.
Thank you so much. And that is exactly why we're having that review period, and we have project readiness as part of our scoring criteria. And Melanie and I are helping with the technical assistance. So we don't score. We want to help you understand what the requirements are, and we want to help you understand, have the most competitive application available. So we can walk you through what's being scored. We can walk you through your cost estimates. We can walk you through what your requirements are going to be if that's the project you want to have. So online, sorry, go ahead.
Is there a max funding amount?
The maximum request amount? No, we have a $9 million availability. And so what I've been recommending to others is that, let's say you have $9 million you want, but of course we want to share in the region. So you kind of tell us, okay, we have a $9 million project, but we kind of see this phase 1, phase 2, and we're able to determine what the limits are.
The 10% set aside though,
And yes, the 10%.
gotta keep that in mind.
We're doing 15% set aside for,
Oh, I'm sorry,
for direct state costs, yeah. But we'll walk you through that, that's okay. But I think the point is that if you have a big project, try to see if you can phase out sections, whether it's 2 phases, 3 phases, or 4 phases, but you can break up a $9 million request into a $3 million request and not overcommit yourself. So then you're asking for a phase or a portion, or prioritize those phases in your application and request, And I think that goes back to what we're saying is we're getting carbon reduction program funds, we're getting future calls, we might have another $9 million in 2 years. And so when the region can better understand what the demand is or what the want is, then maybe we as a region can work for a bigger federal grant or come to the state next year as a region for $25 million, because the state is also having a lot more available for regional networks. And so if we know what the region wants, what the communities want, then we can strategize for more funding. And we have a small pot, quote unquote small pot, but I feel like we could also continue to bring home state money, bring home more federal money, and we want to be able to do that. So the MPO is here to help you with that.
Now, this $9 million is totally unobligated.
It is unobligated. And if you'll allow me, the transportation
Minus
board
15%.
in me,
And minus 50%.
It's unencumbered.
No, so there's a 4-step process through the federal regulation, and there's apportionment, and then it's programming, and then it's the obligation of funds, and then it's reimbursement. So these terms are really federally mandated to us, and that's why the state uses them. But we get the apportionment, then the MPO programs those funds, local projects obligate those funds, and then works with the state to get that reimbursement from the federal government. So also happy to walk through that. I'm a nerd about it. So yeah, that an obligation amount. Yeah, we're working on programming. But all of these resources are available. There's 3 different documents. There's a program guide, which outlines all of this information, the scoring criteria document, and then the 3-part application, which only those first 3 pages are really for evaluation. The other part is to better understand the TxDOT process. And again, we have some guidance online, and there's more slides available on the website. we're recommending that you have more than one staff with the LGP 101 training and that you get enrolled because it takes several months to get on that class list. So make sure there's turnover, we're talking about project readiness. So when you have more staff that are more trained with LGP 101, then you're gonna be able to obligate more funds and advance projects with the district more smoothly because you're gonna understand their process. Go ahead.
Just real quickly, so the 9 million that are available, those are all for projects?
Yes,
Completely, there's not any, y'all don't set aside anything for administrative support or for the
So
MPO?
you're federally now, this was recently changed with the new BIL, you can split the direct state costs into the 80-20 split. So part of that Part B is a PIF form. This Part B in the application is basically a draft PIF. TxDOT, when you're working on an AFA development, asks you to submit that information, and that has a little bit of a budget. You use your itemized budget to determine kind of that 80-20 split or the state, local, federal participation. And we are kind of saying, this isn't how your AFA is gonna be. This is just a draft so you can kind of practice how that breakdown happens. Because then TxDOT will really do their analysis on the complexity of the project and determine what kind of support your project is gonna need. And that's where those estimates change into more real numbers through that AFA. And I'm no contract specialist, but they have the team to kind of work on that. But that 15%, set aside in it to speak, that's really to kind of budget for what the state costs might be. The support, really, the oversight. But again, there's more resources online, and I just kind of highlighting, we have that form for the technical assistance requests, and you can select your dates and give them to us there when you're available. And then these are the two documents. There's a PowerPoint presentation with some useful slides, and then a recording of me talking for an hour and a half, so. But thank you so much. Are there any more questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you. A motion to acknowledge the presentation? Motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item number 2, RGVMPO Executive Director's Report and Updates. Mr. Cannon.
Yes, sir, I believe the budget is available for the screen. We should be at 75% expended. Because of time, we're at 55%. We still continue to believe that those will come up because of the billings that we have with the consultant contracts that we have at this moment. There's 4 of them. So as those continue to come in, and 2 of them are to finish out this year, that we're assisting the City of Brownsville Transit and the City of McAllen Transit with some continuations of studies, and they are due to be wrapped up this year. One's for 100, one's for 150,000, so that'll impact that as well. Also wanted to take a minute and introduce to the board, we have 2 new staffers. Alma Provencio came on board with us as a GIS specialist, and Clarissa Gonzalez as a planner 1. They both work in the Edinburgh offices. We have some that we're hoping to interview soon to replace the one availability that we have in Brownsville. And then that will be back to be fully staffed in the office as well.
Well, welcome Alma and Clarissa.
Yes, sir.
All right, congratulations.
And inside, was this put in the packet? Okay, inside the packet is some information for you, just some terminology and some important dates that are coming up that we wanted to be sure to share with the board, as well as the revision timelines on some of the documents that we have. So we will be presenting something like this and continuing to have it in the policy packet on a regular basis. So everyone's aware of those timelines that are forthcoming and the items that we have time for and deadlines on the horizon. Try to keep everybody on the same page on the timelines. And that's all I have, Chairman.
All right, thank you, Andrew.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have our officially first TxDOT commissioner from the Valley as approved.
I had that.
Oh, sorry. Let's just back up, rewind. I didn't mean to steal the thunder from the chairman. It's, I got nothing, sir. That's all I have for my report.
Why don't you go dip your toes in the pool again, Andrew? Thank you for that. Thank you for that segue. But anyway, I meant to say this at the beginning of the meeting. I was going to wait till the end, but it is truly a historic day. Alex Mead, a Valley native, a community leader, was appointed by the governor to the TxDOT Commission. I believe the last time we had a valley representative was 1993, and I think that lasted all of 6 months to a year, if less. And we're very, very excited for Alex. He was approved, confirmed by the Senate earlier today, and his first meeting, I believe, will be taking place tomorrow, as well as his swearing in. So for those of you who have not reached out to congratulate him, please do so. I cannot stress the importance and the magnitude of this appointment. We're thankful to Governor Abbott for making sure that somebody from the Valley was appointed. I don't think he could have picked a better person, and it's someone that all of us know and work well with, and we're excited. He will remind you that he is a commissioner for the entire state of Texas. We will then remind him of where he's from. But no, we do need to support him in all of his endeavors. He's only there for a 2-year appointment, so we need to make sure that he does well and he's successful. That way the governor will reappoint him to a full 4-year term after those 2 years. But please reach out to him. It's huge. That appointment is huge for all of us here in this room, and I believe it's a culmination of where we started when we wanted to merge the 3 MPOs. So I want to congratulate Alex, and I want to thank the governor for the appointment. Okay, now can I keep going, Andrew? Okay.
Yes,
All right. TxDOT's project status report.
So while the staff gets up there to make the presentation, I too have a couple of announcements. We've had some changes in the FAR district over the last several months. Let me start off with some of this due to retirement and others people moving on to bigger and better places. So Epi Gonzalez, our former Director of Transportation Operations, is now the Laredo District Engineer. Gabriel Garcia is our new Director of Transportation Operations. I know he works closely with the MPO. At the FAR area office, Rene Garza retired back in January, and Hector Siller, who's up there now, Hector Siller is our new FAR area engineer. He was formerly the San Benito Assistant Area Engineer, and now Hector is here with us in the FAR area office, so glad to have Hector on board. And then Melba Shaws is retiring at the end of May, and so Dora Robles, Dora Robles will be assuming the planning engineer role, but her official title, and I had it up here and I just dropped it, is the Advanced Project Delivery Director. I think Advanced Project Development Director. I always get her title mixed up, but Dora has been shadowing Melba, and she'll continue to provide great support to the MPO staff and all of you as we move forward. I did want to make those announcements. I think it's really important to advise the policy board. And with that, I'll turn it over now officially for the presentation.
Well, Judge, good afternoon. I still live in Brownsville currently, so if you have anything in Brownsville area, I'm still driving through there to come to FAR, so.
Remember where I saw you and met your family.
Yes,
Okay?
yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir, thank you. So the 2 projects, I'm gonna cover the Hidalgo County projects. I'm gonna talk about FM 907, Alamo Road. This is between Dicker 3072 and US 31 military, and we're about 78% complete. We're estimating to finish this project, substantial completion here in June, hopefully open it up, and final paperwork by October. So this first picture here, we're working on the guardrail, the safety treatments, and at the approaches, just trying to finish off that new reconstruction of the bridge. This picture here, we're just finalizing some ditch work and some more drainage structures that are still pending, but we're almost done, so we're just pending the final overlay. Next project is 492, bridge replacement. We have a couple locations, and this one here is the construction bridge replacement bridge, the bridge approaches. This is Texas Cordia, and we're estimating to complete this October 2023. Here's a picture of the bridge demolition, and on the back you see the sheet piling that we're working to install in front of the bridge. Here's another view of it. And the approaches, so we're working on some lime stabilization in this area, so almost done. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Rene Davila, Project Manager at TxDOT. I'll be presenting updates for Cameron County. First project is SH100 in Los Fresnos, Texas. The limits of this project are from Mesquite Street to around 500 feet east of Evans Street. The scope of this work is to rehabilitate the existing roadway. We have as contractor Earthworks Enterprise. We are currently at 67% complete, and the estimated completion date is June of 2023. Prime contractor is currently working at the inside lanes of the road approaches. This segment of roadway is expected to be completed by the end of next month. The contractor has an additional crew working on the proposed concrete sidewalk and concrete driveways on the south side of SH 100 throughout the project limits. We are currently around 80%, and we should be at 100% next month as well on the concrete sidewalk. Moving to the next project, South Parallel Corridor. The limits of this project are from FM 509 to FM 2520. The scope of this work is for a new roadway construction. The contractor is Foremost Paving. We are currently at 76% complete, and the estimated completion date is August of 2023. Prime contractor has completed the proposed metal beam guard fence and concrete riprap at the Resaca crossing. And as of right now, they have also completed the most strip concrete along the metal beam guard fence. The contractor has also completed the proposed first layer of asphalt pavement throughout the project limits, as well as the temporary works on striping at the south side of the project for the local residents. With that, I conclude our presentation. Do you all have any questions or comments?
No? All right, thank you. Thank you, Andres, and again, congratulations to Hector and to both of you.
Thank you.
Our congratulations and thanks to Melba for her long years of service. We wish you the best in the next chapter. All right, Cameron County RMA, unfortunately, they're not here today, so it's all yours, Ramon.
Good afternoon. My name is Ramon Navarro. I'm the project manager, chief construction engineer for the Hidalgo County Regional Mobility Authority, and here to provide you with a brief update on some of our priority projects. This is the loop we are tasked to construct. We just recently updated the inflation values on these, and it went from 1.7 billion to 2.1 billion, and in the long run, probably end up a lot more than that. We'd like to say that we are diligently working on segment 3 and section A, which is the southwest connection point to the current 365 toll project. And we are also working on the IBTC International Bridge Trade Corridor project. And that is the one that has been listed as not functionally classified, and I'll get to that here shortly. The 365 toll project is a 12.2.
Hold on, Ramon.
Yes, sir.
Ramon, can you go back to the
Yes,
previous
sir.
slide? I just, that 365 toll segment 4, can you give us a real quick status of what priority that project has?
That project is currently going into environmental justices. We still don't have any obligatory funds to that, but we are looking at trying to get, I guess you could say, grants and some state movement on that, as you know, in partnership with TxDOT, and trying to push that project through.
So you're updating the environmental document.
The EA is getting updated, and we're working diligently towards trying to capture some funding for that, sir.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
That was on the 365, I'm sorry, or the?
That's on the extension of 365 to the west, sir.
Okay.
It's the last toll phase that we can toll currently. The 365 toll project is a 12.2-mile project going from the port of FAR, Brownsville Port of Entry, to the Anzalduas Bridge. We are in construction. It was awarded, construction started March 17th with 1,264 calendar days. We are approximately into the project by 392 days of the day of the report, I would believe, but I'll get to that shortly. We have had 4 change orders with a $37 million deficit remaining, or credit. However, we were recently captured. Last Thursday, we met to capture all of the finalization of the value engineering change proposals. And 30 million were realized. There's an $8 million deficit, or $7.2 million deficit that we'll be working on day and night till the next board meeting, which is May 21st, to construct a change order on and get these responsibilities and these obligations appointed to each of the responsible parties. That will impact the overall credit and production payments and have a domino effect with our obligations and our credits. But we will achieve that feasibly. As far as the project in itself, we've had 70 RFIs, 81 submittals, and continue on with construction on the embankments, quality assurance, quality control testing. Our total estimate paid out to date is approximately $62.2 million. That's about 24% of the project, and we've used, I believe, 32%, 28% of the time. This deficit will be made up when we amend the schedule. The schedule will be amended as we have captured all the value engineering change proposals. We'll be quantifying and valuing all of the items on the schedule for production and come back to you this time next month. The Mother Nature has not been kind to us these last couple of weeks. It's been a wet month. The closure we have on FM 494 will be extended another 2 weeks. This was done to install a 12 by 12 drainage box, just to give you an idea of how well Mother Nature has treated us. Don't get me wrong, the water is a blessing and we welcome it. But this is when the box was dry when we were working on it, and this is the day after the rain, so that's about 6 feet of water that, that we've been pumping on a daily basis, it seems, with the rain. We have finished up the... The embankment on Sherry, we have a proposed overpass along Sherry Road in the Granjeno area. The embankment is finalized. We will be putting the inclometer in there and following the specification to make sure and assure settlement is not overachieving 2 inches over the drawdown time. And we continue with the McCall closure, doing drill shafts and head walls on the abutments, 4 abutments on McCall on the overpass. This is on schedule and scheduled to open in September with a new bridge, a new underpass at McCall Road. Girders will be hung up 1st of July. This is in the floodway. We continue with headers and bridge structures in the floodway. And we did break out our new logo, or the first column with the logo. And this is what you'll be seeing when you do travel along the 365 toll project, which is the HCRMA logo. We continue working diligently in the levee. It's kind of been a win and lose situation with all the water and in the floodway, but they are working and trying their best to get some production in there. And we remain obligated to Hidalgo County Irrigation District number 19 with our construction items and having their antiquated system function appropriately. We are amending and making appurtenances working up to the existing or the prior to existing conditions or better. With that being stated, we did have a toll collection system project, which is going to be electronically collecting tolls, reading license plates, etc. This was awarded to CICE for $13.9 million. We have captured the contract and signed that and officially approved that contract at the board meeting yesterday. As for the wetland mitigation project, this is part of our environmental justices. We have 32.5 acres of plant or wetland mitigation will we be performing. We have an obligation to plant those 20 acres with native plants, and we're looking forward to letting that project here within the next couple of months. I know I said this month, and we are anxiously awaiting the HDR final plans to move forward with that PS&E. That concludes 365, IBTC. As you know, I just touched on that. This is the section to the east. We are faulting the functional classification. We have updated the schedule, and this is on schedule to commence advanced engineering, hopefully starting 2024, looking at doing the functional classification, getting the functional classified, and the environmental documents accepted. Advanced engineering and survey mapping by the end of the year, and issuing out that project the beginning of 2024. As far as the overweight network, to date, as of this fiscal year, we have issued 10,440 permits, amounting to approximately $2.1 million. You see the the distribution of funds there with 31,000 going to Pro Miles, which is our project manager, 1.7 to TxDOT, and 281,000 to our HCRMA. For the month of March, we issued, well, I can't see here, my 3,982 permits. This is a 16.81% increase over this time last year, and they steadily, remain steadfast at about a 16% increase over the year. And looking at I know I had been leaving this out, and I got some inquiries on why I had been leaving it out, the ENR. This gives you a monthly update on what the inflation rates are, et cetera, on materials and the overall interest rates. As you can see, everything remains healthy. Construction materials did take a 0.2 of a dip, but it remains healthy at 6.25%, so it's nothing like we're losing money. And we are being impacted directly with a lot of the pipe materials. All the various pipe materials have taken a tremendous increase in price and cost. And just that for reference for those that were wanting to reference that. This concludes my report. May I entertain any questions or concerns at this time?
Mayor?
Just a quick question, Ramon,
Yes, sir.
on if it's covered here, I apologize, just the State Highway 68, just wanted to know where that was at, going north.
State Highway 68,
And,
that would be a question for our buddy, Mr. Alvarez.
Okay, so
But I
we,
wanted to get your perspective, and then we'll get Pete.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
so-
My perspective
Yes,
is
sir.
that,
And Pete can answer it, yeah.
as we obligate funds for IBTC, it's very critical that we have a connection point. But 68 and IBTC still need a third project, which would be what's going over the overpass. The overpass or the connectivity and interchange to make that work. So,
Thank
yeah.
you.
You're welcome.
Very diplomatic, Ramon.
so
Pete?
I'll answer the question real quickly. So we're currently working to get environmental clearance this year for State Highway 68. We have phase 1 from I-2 to FM 1925 Monte Cristo. That project is funded. We will be building frontage roads, overpasses, and on and off ramps as part of that project. In addition to that, we are looking to buy the right-of-way for the entire 22-mile corridor, all the way up north to basically the Edinburgh Airport, FM 490. The total project cost for that would be $406 million. We're looking to buy the right-of-way, adjust utilities, work with the Hidalgo County Drainage District for improvements, if you will. In the meantime, we're going to progress, starting in the project shovel-ready, if you will. 1,000 acres of land to be acquired, right-of-way to be acquired, approximately 300 landowners. So obviously, that's going to be a challenging task for us. We're ready to step up and empower our consultants that do right-of-way acquisition. We take advantage of multiple consultants doing right-of-way acquisition. We'll give them different segments so they can expedite the acquisition. We will prioritize projects on the south project from I-2 to 1925. Those will be higher priority because that's a project that's fully funded, and then we'll begin acquisition after that for the northern section. So working towards that, I think that'll be that's going to be an expressway type facility once we're all done. Approximately cost $1 billion for a full expressway, if you will, from I-2 to I-69C.
Thank you. Thank you for the update.
I have a question for Ramon.
Go ahead.
So currently, I believe your project, where it lands at Anza Lewis Parkway is just an off-ramp, right?
Yes, sir.
We still don't have an interchange there.
No, sir.
What's the status of that?
The interchange as far as the Anza Lewis Parkway,
Connecting directly to your project?
okay, what we have in the plan, sir, is we have a connector that goes into Anzalduas or Bryan Road that will connect the 365 and Bryan Road, I guess. That's a two-way facility that'll be free to be able to get onto the 365 or get off onto Anzalduas Bridge. As far as any other connection point, I know the on and off ramps, the off ramp at 23rd and at Ware was a concern for McAllen, that the ultimate design did incorporate an interchange type facility at 23rd Street. This current phase does not have that, which is why we are not going through with closing the frontage roads along Depot. Those will remain open. We have a change order working on that operation right now. and impacting the levee construction we're doing now. But we're looking forward to having a fruitful project up front and over demand to be able to incorporate, as demand requires, we will move forward with an interchange at that location.
Because as we know, we're building on San Luis right now, and
Yes, sir.
hopefully a couple of years from now, we'll have 800 trucks going through there.
Yes, sir, and we have to, we will have that loop or connectivity point constructed by that time. Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Ramon? All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Ramon. All right, item 4, old or other business.
Yes, sir. I apologize. Yes, sir. For the last decade, I've been fortunate enough to be appointed by the TxDOT Commission to serve on the Border Trade Advisory Committee. And last week, we had our quarterly meeting in Laredo. Staff was able to have some personal time or some one-on-one FaceTime with Secretary of State Jane Nelson and staff. So we were able to secure the next meeting for the Border Trade Advisory Committee will take place August 22nd at the Brownsville Event Center. And we appreciate Brownsville working with us. For those of you that attended last time, if you recall, we had it in FAR. So we wanted to work over in the Cameron County side. I have made the judge aware of that date. I do have Alex Mead secured to be here as well. I'm gonna visit with Representative Canales as well, but we're very excited about the Secretary of State coming down and visiting the area. As we get closer, of course, we'll get invites out to everyone. There will be an evening reception the evening before with the Secretary, and we'll get all that planned out and out to everyone as we get closer. It may be, yes, sir.
No, actually, yeah, it's a Tuesday, yeah.
So Laredo had it, and we were there last week, and believe me, we got a lot more to offer than Laredo, so
Awesome.
we'll have it ready to go.
Any other business, board members? If not, all right, our next meeting will be May the 31st, 2023 at 1:30 PM here. I have a motion to adjourn. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed, motion carries. It is 2:47. Thank you. 22nd, August 22nd.